So hello, welcome. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. It is April 28th. This is the recorded archive. And today on this class, we are actually making lasagna. So if anybody is watching this webinar out of order and you're not familiar with what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is, this is the sculptural form of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna concept or shape. And one of the main features of it, let me see if I can put that down there comfortably, is this interior. This is the higher dimensional area of this sculptural form. So when I make this paper form, this is an approximation. We understand this is not literal because I have to put this down so that I can, gesture properly. But you can see where this white color is in the sculptural form, there would be nothing. So this is an approximation, but like I'm saying, it is another way to represent it. And the reason why I'm doing this, it's quite lovely. There were some people that were in an online group where I was sharing these ideas, and there was the idea of creating like a folded origami sculpture. I said, this would be wonderful. I can do it as an actual demonstration. And when young people are learning, like when kids are learning their ABCs in school, one of the things that we're finding out now is that it's not just writing with a pen, but that we learn a lot by tracing with our fingers, and that's part of the tactile learning process. Oh, someone isn't muted, so I'm going to just check it out and mute everyone. I love you, but there gets to be some feedback that is distracting. Yes, and I kind of lost my place. That's okay. So going to begin with the exact particulars of how to, that's what it was, children that are tracing in order to learn through, just like musicians learn through tactile practice, right? We're practicing playing the right notes. We learn when we're learning our alphabet letters by tracing them and tracing them. So it is also very effective to learn by creating the sculptural form. And then with your own fingers, you can trace how the outside becomes the inside and the inside becomes the outside. And so the goal is also at the end of this explanation, because I usually do a lot of talking and it's a heavy intellectual exercise, and we do have some meditations or visualizations that we do. But the idea is that at the end of this experience, you will have an actual Flying Rainbow Lasagna in your home, in your space, that you can look at and contemplate and learn about by more than just the intellectual concept. And just exploring the concept is valuable because I like to say that new software changes your hardware, even though I'm not a transhumanist and I do not equate you to a mere computer, but changing our thought structure and our emotional structure absolutely changes the structure and behavior of our physical, biological, cellular form. So all of that being said, I should definitely have about an hour's worth of recording time, and I'm making sure that I'm getting going on this because we probably will have about an hour's worth of work. So the very first thing to get going with, we have 2 pieces of paper, and we're going to create, perfect squares out of them. And I set this up in the simplest way possible so that you wouldn't have to do too much measuring. So what I do is just like if you are doing origami, and I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, and I'll also narrate. I am right now folding, I'm bringing across one of these corners until it meets the edge. And I'm also being very careful to line up this point of this corner perfectly, and then here pinch along. So we have this kind of a fold. Oh, it's so hard to see, it's so overexposed. We have this type of a fold, and here is, I use a pen. You can use your fingernail if you don't mind that scratchy feeling. All right, good. So all of that is a simple way to create a perfect square. And now I'm using my scissors to cut along this bottom edge. All right, so I'll go through that again in case anybody hasn't quite gotten it. Take your 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, put my face on camera so you can actually see, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, folding it like that so that it makes a perfect square, and then cut off this margin down here. And then guess what? Do the same thing for your other piece of paper. So we're cutting, right? This is the not that fun and interesting part to watch. So I have to chat while I'm doing it. Okay, very good. So that's one, and you can use that for scrap paper at another time. And now we do the same thing on the other piece of paper. Same exact procedure. I've got this set up, this little table set up as a tray so that you can see things properly. if it were Food Network, you would have a camera in the ceiling so that you could see what I'm doing on the table. But because it's not that fancy, I have this set up so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm cutting with my scissors and making a perfect square. Good, okay. And if I'm moving too fast, don't worry, you can catch up. So now we have 2 perfect squares. I have to keep making sure that you can still see me. So, okay, now what we're going to do is fold these squares. I don't know how to describe this fold, from edge to edge so that all of the corners meet, so that it makes an elongated rectangle. And the way I do it, first here's how you fold. I put the corners together and the edges together, and I hold them together, and then I pinch the middle, and then I pinch outward to the edges. And if you do it right, then you get a pretty good, pretty clean line. All right, and then I use a pen to smooth it down, but you can use your fingernail if you want to. And then I do the same thing on the other one. And then I smooth it down like this. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is use my circle template. But if you don't have a circle template, don't panic. What you can do is measure with your thumb. So if you don't know, your thumb is roughly an inch wide, unless you have big giant thumbs or you're some kind of a, you know, whatever, Nordic god or something like that. But if you want to, you can just measure thumb, 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 and then make a little mark. And you can do that all the way around. Thumb, 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 and make a little mark. And then it's just this can be a rough approximation. It doesn't have to be exact, is what I'm trying to say. So if you have a circle template, that is wonderful, we'll use it. If you don't have a circle template, you can simply measure in about, I'll hold it up, measure in 3 inches or 3 thumb widths up here, 3 thumb widths over here, and 3 thumb widths over here. And then you can draw a rough semicircle connecting those together. That is if you don't have a circle template, but I have one, so I'm going, because I'm prepared, and I'm going to put that. And you know what else you can do? Find the midpoint along this border. So here we have the mouth of, here's the fold, put myself on camera. Here's the fold, here's the mouth of the fold. You want to find the midpoint along the mouth of the fold. And of course, the easiest way to do that is just to fold it in half and make a little pinch right there. So now you know, and I'll make a little mark. You can see, because that'll help us in the future. And do the same thing on the other one. So again, the mouth of the fold, we're gonna find the midpoint along that line and make a little mark that will just make things easier for your measurement. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to draw a circle that is in the center of the piece of paper. So the easiest way to do that, this is the spine of the fold. The fold is over here and the mouth is over here. And I'm putting my circle template like this, and then I'm gonna draw a semicircle. You can use, like I said, you can use your coffee cup, you can use whatever, and that little midpoint, that little dot that I just made with that midpoint over here is just helping me to get my semicircle in the right spot. And like I said, this does not have to be absolutely perfect. You can do an approximation. So I hope you can see that on camera. This is the whole piece of paper that has been folded in half, and I just drew a semicircle, and now we're going to cut that on out there. This circle that I'm doing, this is a 4-inch circle, and my paper is from an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so it's 8.5 by 8.5, or roughly 9 by 9, and it's a 4-inch circle. And I'm going to do the same thing on my other piece of paper. And I hope that you're able to see. I wasn't sure. I was lying in bed at night, trying to imagine how I could set up a table and a camera so that you could see me while I'm actually doing things and not just have me narrate to you what I'm doing with this. Okay, so I have on both of my pieces of paper drawn a beautiful magical semicircle, and now what I'm going to do is cut with my scissors, cut that out. And this is just like that. I don't know if you did this in grade school when you made snowflakes out of, you know, cutting pieces of paper. We're cutting through both layers at the same time. So that way you don't have to cut a whole circle. You save time, you just cut a half a circle. So now I'm cutting. Okay. And these circles then can become scrap paper for you. So I got one like this. And now we'll make another one that's exactly the same. In case you haven't recognized, this recipe involves making two of things that are exactly the same. Yes, I did recently come across an actual recipe for rainbow pasta. And it was, I'm impressed because it was even made with ingredients that I would eat, you know, like I wouldn't eat a bunch of chemical food coloring dyes, and it was even natural food coloring. So I'm very impressed that someone's out there doing that. So now we've got these beautiful 2 squares that have 2 perfect circles inside of it. And remember when I asked you, well, we folded it in the middle like this. All you need to do is, well, wait, you know something? Let me make sure everyone's doing good, because I was just all focused on this. Is everyone caught up? Check with the class. How's the class doing? Should I check the chat? Let's check the chat, see if everything's doing okay. Checking the chat. All right, no, not too many questions. People seem to be doing good. We're up to this level. All is well. Someone used a protractor. That's a positive student. I'm so happy you're doing well. Okay, so now I haven't gone too fast. Everyone's caught up. What we're going to do is cut this line right over here. So we made those folds, you know, to fold your piece like this. So you have these lovely lines right here. Just cut one of them on both of your squares. So I now have this like this. And same thing on here, all right? And I hope that you're beginning to see how these 2 pieces of paper are going to be eventually joined together into the long spaghetti-like pasta of doing this. So we're now up to the point where we need to draw our cone shapes. We need to draw these rainbow cone shapes. And I hope that you can see on this, I know this is a really old, chewed up model. And you can also kind of see because the light is shining through. So we have, and I'll move it from my face. We have one cone, here's the slit that you just made, all right? So we have one cone that goes up like this, one cone that goes up like this, and I hope, can you see through the light? Yes, you can if I hold it in just the right way. Now you can see the light behind it. That on the opposite side, there's a cone going up here, and on the opposite side, there's a cone going down here. And don't worry, I will fully tell you how to do this. So if we are organizing it so that the slit is on this side, we'll arbitrarily define this as the right side because the camera might be inverting things, all right? What we're going to do is draw one line, and I'm using a ruler, but you don't have to. It's actually very easy to just do, just eyeball it. And what we're going to connect is this corner. Can you see? This corner where my pen is, and this corner right over here. We're going to draw a line that connects those 2. So that's why I say, I have a ruler. You can do it with a ruler, but it's also a very easy line to draw freehand. My pen isn't working because I'm on camera. I have this all set up and I got my pen here and now it's not working. There we go. Cool. I don't know if you can see that. There, you can see that on camera. And then, once again, find the midpoint between these two corners. Make just a little pinch down there so you can see where that midpoint is. And then you're going to make a line from that midpoint that you just pinched up to here. I know you can see and that I'm communicating effectively. At least on today's cooking lesson, you can tell what I'm doing by looking. Sometimes I feel like I skip over things as if you're looking at all the mental pictures that I'm projecting to you. On today's lesson, at least you can see all the things that I'm projecting to you. So we did one cone shape going up like this, and now we're going to do a complementary cone shape going down like this. So if your little slit, if it is oriented over here arbitrarily to the right, then you have one cone that goes down to the right and one cone that goes up in its opposite complementary. You're getting there. You're with me all the way. So same procedure as on the other one. And my eyes are not on the screen right now, so I don't know if there are problems or challenges. If there are, I will check out the chat. So I have just successfully drawn those two cones on side one, but now we have to flip it around and we have to make a proper complementary ones on side two. So side one, they are oriented here and here. Side two on the back side, they're going to be oriented like this and like this. All right, so that if you shone a light through it, we would see all four of them. I hope that I'm communicating that effectively. Not following, can you show the drawn lines? Yes, move it closer to the camera because I know we're a little bit swamped out. So here's that cut over here on the right. Here we have one that is going up to this side and one that is going down to this side. On the other side, we are going to draw complementary cones that are oriented like this and like this, but not on side one, on side two. So I'm going to flip my paper over, and now I'm going to draw a cone over here and a cone over here. And this is definitely the part that is the most intellectual part of figuring this out, of making sure that you are getting it so that your cones will all match up. I'm not sure if I'm making funny squinty faces while I'm trying to do this. I laugh at myself when I see the faces that I make. Okay, we're doing good. And then this one goes like this. And I'll show you what I got, because then we'll do the same exact procedure on the other piece of paper. And then make it in exactly the same way. So once again, if we have arbitrarily have our slit over here on this side of the screen, here's one cone, here's another cone, and then back behind it, here my pen is, there's one that's going like this, and there's one that's going like this. And that's what it looks like from the other side. So they all look like they're going in the same direction. Now we're going to do the same exact thing with the other piece of paper. So that is the main, in this particular way of making lasagna, what matters is, you know, whichever orientation you have done, that you make them both the same. And then when you fold everything, everything should work out okay. I'm hoping that this will all work out okay. I think I did my modeling correctly so that it will all end up looking good. Because, you know, of course, I spent yesterday preparing for this and making my perfect sculptures, like making the perfect roast that would come out of the oven. And now I recreate that with you guys. Doing good, I think. Okay, getting closer. And I have to check my work too. When you got an audience, you got to make sure that you're doing it properly. So I want to make sure I'm not making mistakes. I'm really crossing my fingers. I hope that I've got this all set up and I make it with no mistakes. If I make mistakes, I hope you love me anyway. Okay. And then before we get going with all the rest, we'll check our work and make sure that we've done things in relatively the right formation. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So we will draw all 7 lines to represent all of the layers of the lasagna. But if you want to, you can now check your work and we can do, I'll put this in front so you can see it, a little bit of folding. The sunlight is making this very overexposed over here. How to fold your piece of paper so that it begins to make a lasagna shape. So if we have that arbitrary, that slit is over on this side of the screen arbitrarily. So we're starting with this cone, fold it around so that it's like that, and hold this side, and then fold this one over. You're holding, so on my left, where this hand is holding everything together. This gets folded together. I know, very messy, we're doing it, we're doing it. All right, so that's half. That's one of our squares, and then there's a seam over here that gets connected together, and then we will fold the rest of this. So I want to help you to check your work so that you make sure that you have, because the main challenge in doing this is making sure that that seam, you can't see, there you go, there's a seam right there with tape to make sure that you've got these all formulated in the right way. So now if you want to do some quick folding to make sure that you've done it right. So here's that slit is arbitrarily on the right, and you can fold that little cone, and I'm holding this area on my left. You can fold that again. And what I'm going to do down here where this corner is, I'm just going to make a little pinch that will help it to hold its structure together. You don't have to fold it all the way up, but just make a little pinch down there. And then here, now I'm putting this together like this. And now I'm putting this together like this. And again, I'm just going to do a little pinch at the bottom to just hold the structure. And so that's one square, and we've got 4 half vortexes in that one square. And now I want to make sure that I've got my other square in the way that it will match up effectively and properly. And if I did my homework right, I hope I drew everything right, because I'm doing it on, because there we go. Yes, no, did I not do it right? Oh, I didn't do it right. I totally fooled everyone, including myself. That's why we check our work. Because now, as you see, when I'm folding these, I'm actually folding them backwards of the way that they need to be. So I apologize that I didn't do things right. On one of your squares, draw in the rest of the lines so that we've got 4 on one side. I know, I thought I had it all set up right, and I didn't have it all set up perfectly. They should have been complementary or opposite. Don't worry though, you love me anyway. Yeah. So now we'll actually get it right. Not that they were supposed to be exactly right. Here, let me make sure I've got it right. It's just like on a cooking show when you're like, oh, you just flip these pancakes and it comes out perfectly, and then it doesn't come out perfectly because you're on camera. That's okay. It's all part of it. Okay, so now I think I've got these better. Let me make sure that I did this properly. Okay. Yes, I did things properly. So this one that I'm holding up right now, don't worry if your brain is slow. And I just made mistakes on camera, so I'm sure that I confused everyone. So the one that I'm holding on my right hand is the one that the first one that I made. And the one that I'm holding on my left hand is the one that I just fixed up. And the idea is that when we have these oriented in the right way, these two little tabs will fit together in a complementary sense. Making sure that you can actually see what I'm doing. That's going to be that seam. Here you go, these two edges that come together. It's hard to see because the sunlight is blocking everything out. They come together like that. So you know what? Let me put a piece of tape there, and that way I can gesture more easily and walk everybody through this. Because I know it's confusing when the teacher makes a mistake, but it also shows you that we're all learning. We're all on a journey of learning. Okay. And let me also, so that I'm not going to be, extra super confusing, I'm going to make lines on the ones that are the right ones, because I now have mistakes on one of mine. Okay, so I'm drawing some lines here to represent every color of the rainbow, and you must forgive me, my pen isn't working. There's a lot of things going on right now. I have my pen not working properly. Here. Okay, so also, well, if you need to see what I'm doing, I'm drawing contour lines. Look at the beautiful sunlight that is streaming in. That's just wonderful. I'm just going to take a moment to appreciate that. I'm drawing contour lines, and I've drawn 6 of them, and they are to represent the 7 colors of the rainbow going up. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit. The reason why I'm drawing these contour lines is because I made a mistake, and so on one of my sides I have 4 spokes, but I'm not supposed to have 4 spokes. I'm only supposed to have 2. We are blessed. I know we have this beautiful solar radiation coming in and inspiring us. So you can tell I'm getting all like, oh no, I've made mistakes and drew things wrong and led the class wrong. And the sun is like, no, I'm beaming in, everything is fine. So here, I'm drawing all the lines that will represent red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So that's 6 lines. And I draw them curved, like the curved edge of a fingernail contour. So that way we look like, so now you understand on this piece of paper, this cone and this cone where my fingers are, they're not supposed to be there. So only the ones that have the stripes are supposed to be there. So now when I fold this, you'll understand. Let me do the proper stripes on the other side of that piece of paper too. Okay, the ones that are the right ones. Yes, that's this one over here. So I'm drawing these beautiful stripes. And then I'll go through with you guys and help you to know how to draw your stripes, don't you worry. But I want you to make sure that you know that your paper will fold in the right direction. Okay, so if you have any confusion, what your paper should look like on one side, see, you should not have these 2 spokes. You should just have these 2 striped spokes on that side. And then if we flip it over, you have these two striped spokes on these sides, pretend this is in here. That's my mistake, pretend that's not there, okay? And now I will show you. So if you have, this is your square that you didn't draw any contour lines on yet. This person says, I might have missed some important stuff. You'll be able to catch up. Charlotte, if you have questions, and I know I'm leaning forward to squint and everything, I'll lead you through. Just tell me, did you make a square with a circle in the middle yet? The basic order of operations: make two squares, draw circles in their middle, cut out the circles, and then cut out the slits. And if you've gotten to that level, then you're ready to draw your cones. And the cones are supposed to be drawn just 2 per side. So this one is correct. And I'm holding it so that you can see it. You're just supposed to have 2 cones per side. And here's the slit on the right. So you have one that goes up to the right, one that goes down to the left. And of course, its complement on the back. But then what I told the class wrong is on your other square, if the slit is arbitrarily oriented to the right, we are supposed to have another one that goes up to the right, one that goes down to the left, and then its complement on the back. So whatever I did the first time, I did wrong, but then I corrected it and did it right the second time. But that's not that awesome for confusing everyone. So this is how it's supposed to look. You just have 2 cones on one side. And now what we're going to do is draw 6 lines that are slightly curved around here, and that will create the stripes like the colors of the rainbow. And I just eyeball them. You don't have to measure, but if you want to measure, you absolutely can. Or maybe do one of these along with me, and then when you have more time, do it absolutely perfectly. And I count to make sure that I'm doing things right. It's hard to do things and talk at the same time, I'm telling you. We'll get there though. Okay. Oh, my pen is running out. Because once we've got our stripes drawn, then we can also do coloring. I once had to learn how to make a vest, like sew it with a sewing machine from a pattern, because a person ordered an art vest from me. So I printed the fabric and I went to a sewing class and I learned how to sew it all together. It was so challenging, and putting a silk liner into the vest was also so challenging. So I'm just saying that because if you're looking at this piece of paper and wondering how in the world does this end up fitting together into anything, it will fit together into something. But at a certain point when I was making that vest, trying to turn things inside out and sew things together so that it fit together, it was very challenging. So don't be concerned. I don't even think that making a flying rainbow lasagna is as complex as it is to try to sew a vest with the silk lining. All right, so now I've drawn all of my stripes. Let's stop and take stock. How is everyone doing? Have you gotten to the point where you have 2 squares with 2 circles cut in the middle and your appropriate cones drawn on the side? Let me move this so that we won't get too swamped. It keeps on getting exposed. And then I will show you to tape them together. So I don't know, has everyone gotten, because I didn't tell you to get to the level of making your own seam. In fact, I'm going to cut this apart. Well, before I cut it apart, repeat on the second paper. Yes, you make sure that both of these, they are almost exactly alike, but they are complementary. So here, let me cut this apart, and then I'll go through it with you. And you know something? I was totally right. I know that I did my work properly. They're supposed to be exactly the same. So here's what we've got. We've got 2 squares with circles in the middle. And don't pay attention to the ones on here that have mistakes. They're supposed to both have, here, oriented in the same way. Yeah, I apologize that I didn't get it quite right doing it on camera, but you can see we've got down to the lower right, up to the upper left, and the same thing on the other side. Don't pay attention to the empty ones. Down to the lower right, up to the upper left, all right? This is what we're supposed to have. And then when it's time to tape them together, Here, get a little piece of tape prepared. Put some of my little tape pieces over here on my little lamp stand. Getting ready. Okay. You have your two pieces of paper, and the way that they fit together is, let's take, can you see this one with this cone like this? And it gets connected. Make sure I'm doing it right. Nope, like this. Let me make sure I'm doing things right before I show you the wrong way again. So the way you make sure you're doing it right is by folding. Can you see how I'm folding that cone? I'm folding that cone along one of the origami folds that we already established. And then I fold it again. So basically these long edges end up being the interior space. And then I fold it again. And then I fold this final little cone like that. So here's that seam. And that is what I am trying to make certain that I am putting it in the right way. So we're going to make that seam connect to this one. There we go. This seam is like this. This seam is like this. This cone doesn't exist. And we tape it together like that. All right. So here I'm going to walk you through this. You have folded up one of your squares with a circle cut in it. Here's the seam over here. And now you are orienting your other square with a slit cut in it. Slit is to the left. And you are putting a blank cone facing this over here. That actually should not be a cone drawn there. And now I'm going to get my tape that I have painstakingly prepared and tape it together across this seam over here. All right. So if you guys want to check your work, if your seam has been done properly, then when you do the rest of the folding, hubby says, might have to watch this a couple of times. Sorry, we missed the start. No problem. Also because I am trying my best to give clear instructions and also making small mistakes. So bear with me, and I love all of you also. So you check your work by folding all of your lasagna folds together, and then you just look at the two ends to make certain this is I'll go through it again. We want to make sure that these two ends will fit together. This one is a top cone, and this one is a bottom cone. And so it's going to have, like an accordion, we're going to now pull these papers all the way around, and we want to make sure that these two seams fit together. If your seams are off, don't worry. It might be from measuring and trying to go along with me while I'm doing this in this explanation in real time. And when you have more time, you can go at a slower, more comfortable pace and make it so that the seams match up just perfectly. Someone's unmuted. There's no problem with that, but I'm going to turn it off just because it makes it a little bit harder for me to concentrate. There we go. So I'm muting everyone. All right. So, and let me actually check the chat. Pardon me that I have to lean forward and go slightly off camera in order to read what's going on here. I want to make sure everyone's doing okay. Circle's a bit oblong. Don't worry about it. I'll show you the drawn lines again. Your brain is slow. Don't worry. You're doing great. Don't worry. You're doing good. I'm sure I'm squinting and scrolling. All right. Okay. That's not that bad. We're doing pretty good. I'm sorry. I had to go through and check all that out. All right. So if you have two squares with two circles cut in the middle and the two slits to make it like have a mouth like Pac-Man, you're already most of the way there. Then the next thing to do is to draw the cones with the stripes. And if you do it, whatever you do, whichever orientation you do, just do it equally on both pieces of paper. That was my mistake that I did on the first time that I drew it. I didn't draw both of them equally. So we're making two identical overlapping things. So here you have the stripy cone over here, and the stripy cone over here. These were my mistake cones. I don't know why I drew them. And then, okay, this is the seam of how you fit these two pieces of paper together. Should we go through coloring all of these stripes? I'm just gonna color one of them so that you get the basic idea. I mean, let me check out how much time we've got to. We've got about 15 more minutes, it's not that bad. I'm just gonna do a little bit of coloring here, not to make you watch me color, and staring at another person coloring might not be that wonderfully fascinating. And I'm also doing a super sloppy job of, here we go. I don't know if you can even see, but I'm just doing a very simple laying in of color that is so messy. Like I said on the cooking show, I do it really messy and then turn around and pull out a perfect lasagna from the oven, so don't worry. Okay, having trouble folding properly. Don't worry, I'll go through it with you. Hold on a second. First, let me do the basic colors, and then I'll go back to you on how to fold things properly. Just a second, I got 3 more colors left to go, and then we'll do folding. The folding is the hardest thing, as you can tell, because I messed it up myself. Okay, basic colors all the way up this cone. All right, if you have not yet joined together your piece of paper, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut my seam so that I am now at the same stage of development that you are at. So here's how you fold your papers. Pac-Man mouth is over here, and here's a cone. And what we're going to do is fold these 2 edges together and hold that. And I make a little pinch on the end there. And then here's the next cone, and it already has a fold in it. So I'm folding it up like that. And the spine where my hand is, that is like the inside of the sculpture. Now I'm folding this cone over like this, and I'm holding the spine over there. And then the last thing is I'm folding this up like this. So when you do this, what you should have is your hand is holding all of the longest sections of the paper. And what you have on the outside of these loops are the stripes for your 1, 2, 3, 4 vortexes. And of course, we'll do the same thing on the other one. So starting with, that's half. And I know it's hard to do. You have to kind of hold 2 of them together, or you can put it down and put a little paperweight on top of it. That's another good way to do it. Let's fold again. And this one, because this one is has mistakes on it. Don't look at this, don't look at this. And I just drew the rainbow on here. So we're going to fold that rainbow colored one, and then make a little pinch up at the top. And then I fold the bottom vortex up like that, and I'm holding the fat end with this hand, and then fold this around. So all of the vortexes are on the outside, and then fold this around. She doesn't have cone shapes. I don't know, is it too late to rewind? And then what I would do, now I'm gently picking up. All right, someone's doing good. I think I got it, Melissa says. So then I gently picked up the one that I just had under my paperweight. And then the next thing would be, it's the fat end to the fat end. And we would connect them together. You could make a sandwich like this, as long as your 2 seams fit together. Here, can you see this okay? Here, this seam, is going down. This seam, cannot see because my hand is in front of the camera. What I'm pointing to with my finger right there is going up. And we want those 2 little, oh, you can't even see properly. There we go. There we go. We want those 2 little places to touch and kiss. So if you want to, do you want to color with some crayons or colored pencils? Person says, I missed the proportions of how to draw the other lines. I have 2 pieces of paper. Do not be concerned. So when you have your square, you cut your circle in the middle, and you cut this slit over here. And then if the slit, like a Pac-Man, in the mouth is facing to the right, here we've got one cone that goes up to the right and one cone that goes down to the left. And what I did was here's my ruler. I put one line there and one line there and drew that cone, and then one line like that and one line like that, and I drew that cone. And then, in a very unofficial way, and I didn't really go through it that much with everyone, I did 6 lines. I'm trying to get, the sun is making it a little bit too overexposed. 6 lines going up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that gives us 7 colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And I draw them curved like a fingernail, like a contour, so that when we fold it, it ends up looking equidistant circles. Equidistant from what? I didn't know how to answer that particular question. But the idea is we have whatever they are on the front, then on the back it is complementary. So here we have one cone on that side that's going up this side on the other side, and one cone up that side that's going up that side on the other side. So here, this one, the one that here's this. So that it won't be confusing, I'll just do a very quick coloring in over here so that you know which ones are the cones that are supposed to be there. And then, so if you want to, you can color along with me, or you can wait until after we have completed this project. But I drew those 6 lines, and then the next part of the recipe is to color each one of those segments with the appropriate color of the rainbow, beginning with red at the fattest edge of the cone and moving all the way up to violet at the skinniest, pointiest end of the cone. I did a card game, the design for a card game, not the actual probability for it. And it was themed for gnomes, like gnomes that have the little red pointy hats, but instead of the red pointy hats, they had rainbow pointy hats. So each one of these little cones is like a little gnome hat. I'm doing the fastest, sloppiest coloring job possible, but just so that you get the idea of what is supposed to be going on here. I'm so happy that I have the perfect one to pull out of the oven and show to you. Okay. So in the end, what you will have are 2 cones, one here, and then on the other side, you'll have the same ones colored. Let me check the chat. How are we doing? Are there questions and concerns? I missed the proportions, equidistant circles. I think I got it. The second paper folds and fitting together. Okay. So you have, if we imagine that all of these have been colored with the rainbow colors, and now we'll get into exactly how to fit them together. We'll do the folding together again. Are you ready? Starting with this, the colors names again. Okay, that's no problem. So here, this is circle with a square with the circle cut in the middle, and here's your gap over to the right. 1 cone points to the top, 1 cone points to the bottom, and the fattest one is red, then orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So red is the fattest, and that'll be out the edge, and then this will end up being the pointy part in the interior. Okay, so getting ready to fold. Hold your piece of paper oriented in the same direction that I've got it. So I've got it with this little cut over here. What I do is I bring that little cut upwards and inwards, and I'm making these 2 edges fit together and make a little pinch at that corner. And then I fold this up like this. So did you see what I just did? I went from the squares like this, now the squares like this. And I'm holding all of these together like a bouquet. These are all the stems of the bouquet that I am holding over here on this longest edge, the outer edge of the square. Now this one's easy, it's already going in the right direction. Going over like that, I'm holding the stems of the bouquet over here, and then the final one is this little tab that goes up. So you know you're doing it right if you see a striped vortex on the outside here and a striped vortex on the outside here. So do one of your pieces of paper like that, and then the best procedure, put it down on your table with a little paperweight on top of it right over here. So that's what I'm doing with that, because it's hard to do all of this at once. And then here's the other one. So I'm folding this cone, I'm folding this cone, I'm folding this cone, and I'm folding this cone. All right, and I can tell I did my work right because the striped vortexes are on the outside. And I got my tape all prepared because we have to do this with 2 hands. So now the main thing in putting these together is to make certain that you're putting the spine, this long edge, together with this spine, the long edge like that. So if you can imagine they're coming together like this, and look here, you have this is the tab that is facing upwards, and this is the one that is facing downwards, this over here. And so what we do is want to make sure that those two fit together. So first I'm putting them together like the 2 long ends, and then I'm going to pretend that I'm folding it like a book and closing the pages. And I'm going to make these 2, here I'll show you what I'm doing. Closing the pages of the book and joining together. I know you can see it right where that sunlight is, these edges right there. And then I know I've done it properly. Oh yeah, and don't worry, my edges don't fit up perfectly together. This is like very rough and ready. Like I told you, the one that I take out of the oven at the end of this, the cupcakes are all perfect that I take out of the oven, but the ones that I did along with you, you know, are quite, quite imperfect, quite disarranged. All right, so now let's get into the final folding of the lasagna. We did the, come along, stick with me everyone. Did you manage to get that seam properly put together? And if you've got the seam correct, then the pieces of paper should be arranged kind of like a spiral. Kind of like a spiral. If you can see this. Yes, awesome. So you're now ready. We're now ready to do the full lasagna folding. And I think that'll be just the right amount of time. I will go over time on my, so when I have packing tape, so I'm just preparing and taking a few little pieces and putting them over here so that I don't have to stop, because you're going to need to use both of your hands in order to do this. So prepare your tape. If you have a better tape dispenser, then you are more prepared than I am. So I've got some of my little pieces of tape set up over here in a magical way. Hold on, getting my little pieces properly prepared. One year I made a lot of these little paper versions and I used them as my Christmas ornaments on a little holiday tree. So I'm an expert, I've done this a million times, but I still make mistakes. So now we've got our spiral flying rainbow lasagna pasta. Let's begin folding. So if we have this, once again, oriented so that the slit is to the right. Let's do it in a way so that you can see it better. Oriented. The sun is so bright. Oriented so that the slit is to the right, and fold up that first cone, and then take a piece of tape. Hope you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can. And I'm now putting a piece of tape across that fold and permanently taping it. And now I'm going to fold the next fold, and over here, I'm making my little corner nice and perfect and pointy. I'm going to put another piece of tape right along here. All right. I think you saw that happen. And now we return. This is another fold, and I'm putting the tape along here. And I just want to make it very clear, I'm putting it along here, not along the entire length, just from where my thumb and pointer finger are up to this pointy end over here. And now I'm going to fold it again. And so you can see, I'm trying to hold it so that you can see my face and see what I'm doing and not be too overexposed. I'm folding again. And I'm going to put tape over here. All right, so I just folded 4 of the vortices. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to do the rest of them because we've got that seam right there. So now I'm going to fold the other one. I'm always folding it so that the edges of the fat end are sticking together. I'm folding these guys. So I hold this area over here, make a little pinch with my fingers at the pointy end, and then so I've got my tape all prepared over here because otherwise it's too many hands to try to hold things together. And then I tape together these 2 ends. That was very messy, but you got it, you got it. And then I do this one up like this. So now I'm going to tape between this index finger and this index finger. I'm going to take that seam along there. Get another piece of tape. And I'm doing it. And then I have 2 more to go. So this is being, I hope you can see what I just did. It was like this. I'm folding it over like this. I'm pinching this little end, pointy end, and I'm making sure that the flat ends fit together nicely. And I have 1 more left to go. Hold on, I gotta get my special magical tape all prepared. Hold on a second here. And then we'll need more tape for the final seam. And we're almost there. And then I help everybody, I'll go around to all the class and make sure that everybody's sculptures are coming out right. So the very last one, I have this last little flange. I'm folding it over like this, and then I'm putting the piece of tape along this area here. Okay. So what I now have is an accordion where everything is joined at one seam. Here, look, this is what we've got right now. But we haven't joined together this final seam. So make sure you've got your tape all set up. And what you do is, first I should stop. Has everybody reached this level of the lasagna making? This person says, I can't get it right. What? Susan's good, doing good. Let me check the chat and make sure everyone's reached this level. Wait, hold on a second. Let me see what's going on here. Don't worry if you can't quite get it. Do not be embarrassed at all. This is very complex, advanced lasagna making. You've never done this before, and I've never done a live demonstration like this before. So we're all doing really awesome. We have our, we could call it accordion-shaped lasagna. And the very last thing is to join together the 2 final cones. And you know you've done your work right when one is pointing down and one is here. One is pointing up. And so what we are doing is unfolding the accordion. I'm trying to make it in the sun, not too much in the sun so you can see. Turning it around, and then we're going to combine together those 2 seams right there. So someone just had a question in the chat. Question in the chat says, I lost you at the folds. That's all right, we'll get you back. Yes, you will rewatch, we'll get you back. Accordion lasagna, and this central spine is all the long ends where we folded and put the tape. And the very last part of this procedure is bringing it, like here, I'll show you from the top. We're bringing it around like this and joining together these two ends over here, all right? And maybe the sun is not too much. This is one end where my finger is, this is another end where my other finger is. We are coming around like this and joining them together. So the way that I do that is by putting a piece of tape over here. And I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm putting it around the back side. So the sticky side is facing forward, sticky side out. And now I'm bringing these two sides around, and I'm, as best I can, matching up these two sides. I hope you can see what I'm doing, and pressing down the tape. So I just made that seam right along there. And now I put one more piece of tape on there in order to hold it down a little bit better. So let me just drink a little bit of water here. So those are the basics of how to fold a flying rainbow lasagna out of paper. When you're looking at this shape, you can see some of these are a little bit weird and hinky-jinky. So now it's time to like fluff and arrange them. Like this one, you can see it is folded flat, but it should be more like a cone. So I stick my fingers inside of there and kind of mold and shape them. And I'm also pressing along that seam so that it's not so flat. And I'm going to go all the way around all of the little cones, pressing them, get my face on camera, so that you can make them into actual cone shapes. They should not be completely flat. There we go. Now it's starting to pop forward into its proper format. And same thing on the other end of the sculpture. Here, I hope you can see I'm pressing them out. They should be dimensional, not totally flat like a pancake. Going around and going around and going around. And that is the basics of the lasagna. And then if you were to look at it end on, here, let me just see if we can change it so that it's not too overexposed for you. There you go. Those are just the two that I colored very quickly during class. And then you can see the white interior space. That would be the area of non-existence, or the higher dimension. So here's my really messy one that I made together with you. And here's my perfect one. Look, I'm turning around. I'm coming out of the oven. Here's the perfect cupcakes, everyone. Oh, look, it's so easy. Anyone can do it in 5 minutes. So yes, I'm joking, but this is, if we measure properly and take time to actually color, this is what it can look like. Let me go into the chat and read and make sure everyone's doing okay. This person says, I made a mistake with having the cones of the proper corners on one piece of paper. So I taped it shut and cut another slit. Good, I like your style. And now I have a proper template. That is exactly what this is all about. That it's okay if you do not have it exactly right the first time. You could consider this to be a template or a learning exercise. And we did this one together, and then you can perfect the technique and make it even better. If anybody has any questions, you are now welcome to unmute yourself. And I can unmute everyone, but it might be a little bit too much cacophony. Unmute yourself and ask questions if you need to. Someone's saying, it's beautiful. I look forward to figuring this out. I will. This is the whole idea, that this is like a mental exercise. Like I was trying to get across the idea that when young people are learning their letters and numbers, like we are doing something similar. We are having to organize our neurology. This person saying, beautiful. I was hoping to have one tonight, but I haven't figured it out. Don't worry, it's a process. And I told you that story about how I figured things out over the course of many years, because that's in order to share my own process, that it took time to percolate. So I created the lasagna as a visionary experience. It happened all at once. I saw the entire thing, but it took me a long time to kind of dissect it and analyze it and figure out how it is even put together. This person says, we're eating lasagna sunbeams. That is exactly what we're doing. I love you. Yes, it's perfect. It's so perfect. Yes, all of the challenges aside, whether your seams fit together perfectly or whether your tape stuck to itself, that doesn't matter. We are like young people in the, you know, the laboratory of life. We're in the one-room schoolhouse here, and we're learning. And so I'm sharing with you, this was part of my learning process, was not just doing a lot of flat drawings, but also eventually taking it into the third dimension and making it as these paper sculptures. And that this is one way, like we think with our fingertips and we think with our perception, not merely our intellect. So this is another way, another fun way of creating these shapes. And what I have done, if you're an overachiever, super achiever, you like to really learn a lot, what I have done is taken clear sheets of acetate, and in making these paper forms, what I did was intersperse the paper area with clear acetate, like clear plastic that I taped in there. So that when, and the paper is flexible, so the paper could fold, so that when I created the final sculpture, you would see the paper and that would be rainbow, but any place where it's white would be the clear acetate. So I'm throwing that out there for anyone who would like to experiment and do some advanced lasagna, advanced home lasagna manufacturing. You can experiment with that. The sheets of acetate, they are also like, they're easy to find. They're like cling films. They're like for gels, they're sometimes called. Yes, it looks wonderful, right? So you can see this is a simplified form of this. This is the, you know, more accurate form. And if we were to go even a little bit more accurate, like this just has one long ski jump. It doesn't have all of the layers. This one starts to get even a little bit more accurate in terms of showing, here, the one without the fishing line, is 7 layers. And you can also see proportional. The red one is the biggest one, and then orange is slightly smaller, yellow slightly smaller, 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 smaller. So this is one of the more accurate sculptures that I made, even though it's also a little bit rough and ready. Want to unmute, or if anybody has any questions or comments that they need to make, now is the time. I'm just about reaching the limit of what I can record. So if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to be part of the archive, go for it. If not, I'll say thank you to everyone. I won't end the whole class, but I'll just end the recording for right now. Just want to give people an opportunity. So let me end the recording for right now. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in.